Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, July 11th to Saturday, July 17th. So a little bit of a recap. Last week, we had that Sirius gateway portal, our spiritual sun, align with us and download us with huge amounts of very intense energy blasts. We had our first solar flare in X class that we haven't had since 2017. It was an absolute banger, really mixing things up, really putting the intensities on our physical bodies to adapt, to align, and to integrate with the new light codes coming in. Of course, we had the 7-7 portal where the Sirius Gateway portal peaked. And of course, the 7-7 numerological lesson really gave us another dose of energy. Why? Because we have to enlighten. We have to raise our vibrations. We are on the cusp of bringing a brand new reality into this physical realm. We are elevating and ascending to the next level of our consciousness. On that exact same day that we had that 7 intensity, we also had Mercury move out of his shadow period, really putting the pressure on our mental plane to get up to speed, really jumping into the heart space, trying to figure out all that has transpired, making sense of it all. And of course, Mercury's days in Gemini, in his place of power and comfort, were definitely numbered as he wrapped up the life lessons that Mercury in Gemini wanted us to learn. And as if all of that wasn't enough, we were building towards that new moon in Cancer that we are still definitely feeling, that we are definitely adjusting to, and that we are settling into, although it doesn't feel like that. We're still very shaky, very unsettled, very unstable, and still reeling from the energy blast, the ascension symptoms that new moon in Cancer brought us. So what do we got going on this week? Well, Mercury will be moving out of Gemini and into Cancer. That is definitely going to turn up the feels just a little bit, especially in the way that we are thinking, the way that we're speaking and communicating ourselves. We have Chiron, the wounded healer planetoid, going retrograde, joining those other major heavy-hitting planets already in a retrograde, turning up the heat in our inner realms, showing us where it is that we need to transform ourselves. And this particular energy will be highlighting our egoic and our identity wounds. Yes, it's not going to feel very good, but it is going to trigger our inner spiritual warrior. And when our warrior comes out to play, you best believe there is a huge transformation about to take place. We have a huge meeting of the lovers of the universe. Venus and Mars come together, conjunct in Leo, the heart and soul of the zodiac, unifying and balancing the feminine and masculine energies, both within ourselves and our relationships, in the way that we take action and that we are birthing a brand new reality, a brand new cycle here in our realms. And all of this is going to be backed by the intensity building to the first quarter moon in Libra, which will wind down Cancer season. So we do have some lessons and some topics and themes that we have to review, we have to reprocess, we have to integrate before moving on. So let's jump into it and let's see what this week has in store. So some ascension symptoms for the week. I have to bring the baby analogy back. So last week we were pushing, the baby was crowning. This week we're staring at the child. We have given birth. We are seeing our realities change at a very rapid rate. The birthing pains continue, meaning we're having really weird sensations in our abdominal area. Why? Because our root chakra, our sacral chakra, our solar plexus is under a great transformation. We have different attachments, different needs for survival, different ways to bring things to life, new creative aspects, new will, new passions, new desires to be following. Those are the lower chakra system. I want you to imagine the discomfort taking place in the physical body after giving birth. So obviously there's some tenderness, some soreness in our external and lower extremities. Okay, let's just focus on the legs for now. The hips, the legs, the thighs. We definitely have sea legs, right? It's going to be different trying to have to walk again because we just took our first step forward. And now we're in unfamiliar territory. Maybe, give you another analogy to work with here. When you're used to walking on flat sidewalks that we, most of us experience here, and then maybe you travel to England and you take a little stroll on the cobble, you better believe that cobblestone is going to make you feel like you haven't walked ever in your life. It's a different playing field. It's a different terrain to have to get used to. And right now, because we've taken a very large step forward, we have sea legs. Our legs don't feel right. They could feel like they're not strong enough to support us. They could feel like we have, tingling in our legs, or maybe your sciatic nerve is acting up. That is because we are recalibrating the lower chakra system. We have made some dramatic changes and transformations in a very short amount of time. It happened very quickly. There was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of chaos. And then bam, now we're learning how to walk this new path in which we've initiated. The feels are still going to be quite extreme and very intense. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a very euphoric feeling. It's as if our dreams are overlapping with our reality, and the two are merging in this really awkward point in the center where we really are questioning, is this real? Is this my life? Is this really what's going on right now? It's very euphoric. And, to continue with the baby analogy, you did the push, you did the pregnancy, you did the pushing, you did all that screaming and the pain and everything else. And now you're looking at this little tiny little being and you're like, is this real life? Is this reality? Is like somebody pinched me? Did this just happen? And that's kind of the feeling that we're definitely going to be tapping into, especially midweek here this week. Now, there's still going to be an ebb and flow between excitement and terror. Okay. Like there's no getting away from it. We're in an adjustment period. We're in so many different new realities, different new elements here that it's hard to get away from being afraid and from being absolutely terrified on what's next. That's what we're asking ourselves this week is what's next? What do we do next? Where do we go from here? What is happening? And that can be very exciting, but it's also very scary. And of course, we're still in Cancer season. The waves are crashing upon us, ebbing and flowing between the two. And the mental fuzziness is kind of not helping things along here because, we're kind of focused on the memories. We're focused on the intuitive feelings. We are getting flashes from our dream realm, from our reality in the past. We're having weird visions and weird smells come over. We want to make sense of things. But again, this week, we're really relying on going with the flow and surrendering to having to fly by the seat of your pants until we can gain some clarity and gain some ground. So the mental fogginess, the fuzziness, even feeling like your ears are vibrating, that would be a sign of our perspectives changing. And again, with Mercury switching from Gemini into Cancer, we're moving all the way out of logic and practicality and moving more into having to rely on our intuition and then try to make sense of the intuition and emotions that are coming up for us. The heart activations are definitely going to be extreme, especially when Venus meets up with Mars. So the heart activations that we've been having, breaking down the walls around our heart chakra, kind of infusing us with more joy, more playful energy, more love, more romance. This is going to ebb and flow also, because again, we're still in Cancer season. And it can go from extreme fullness, feeling great, feeling aligned, filled with passion, to extreme emptiness and really sitting in the void of what's next. I just want to bring the baby analogy back in here for a second. Like you're a new parent, you're staring at this little being that you can't even make sense of how it's even in your arms at this point. You're so full of love, but then all of a sudden, there's nothing there because you're so overwhelmed with the what ifs and the shoulda, coulda, wouldas and what do I do now, that it goes from absolute fullness and breaking the point of like happy tears to, oh my God, I'm so confused. I feel nothing. Why don't I feel anything? I didn't think it was going to feel like this. That's absolutely necessary. And at the same time, we have to understand that we're going to be super restlessness. Well, the restlessness is going to be super intense, especially against the beginning of the week because we want to take action, but we're definitely not given the green light go until later in the week. So I want you to, again, work that body. Look out for muscle tension, look out for pulled muscles and muscle spasms, because again, that's that Mars energy really forcing us to want to move forward, but again, being blocked from the universe until later in the week. We want to move. We got to get rid of this energy. What are we going to do? If we don't move our physical bodies, it's going to be mirrored and projected in aggression and anger, which we don't want to sit with. So what I will say to you is, even though you want to go to the gym and work yourself hard or go out and clean the yard up and do everything on your to-do list all in one shot, not the best advice. We want to monitor our energy. We want to hold ourselves back and reserve the energy to be dispersed evenly throughout the week, not going all into one thing at once and then not having any energy left for other activities later on in the week. Our digestion is still going to be a little bit wonky. However, the hunger and cravings will still be there, but there's going to be a lot of nausea as well. And this is because we are excited, but we are also terrified. So we eat to fill the void, to feel weighted so that we are doing something. We're keeping ourselves distracted, but then we feel so sick to our stomach because the terror hits us. And suddenly we want to puke. Suddenly we want to purge. Suddenly we want it out of us. Then we go to the next day trying to prevent that feeling, so we might not eat as much, but then the hunger pains actually hurt more than the discomfort of the nausea would. So we are going to have to be very balanced in what it is that we're actually putting in our bodies. Again, back to the babying analogy, no longer are we just eating to nourish ourselves. Now we are eating in order to produce energy and food and nutrients for another little human being. Now, what is that other little human being? Well, in your life, it could be a new romance or a new project, a new career, a new chapter of some sort is now the innocence, the purity of creation in which you've brought into this world. Now we have to eat accordingly to produce enough energy for us to continue to pour in to this new life in which we've created. One thing I want you to watch out for this week is your bladder. So there will be more frequent trips to the bathroom. It might feel like your bladder is about to burst and then come to realize in the bathroom, well, geez, doesn't really sound like a whole lot of, liquid there. Doesn't seem like that was as much pressure I was carrying on. What's going on here? This is a bladder spasm or a bladder illusion because we have to bring in more water. We're cleansing, we're purging, but keep in mind, there's a lot of pressure in our abdomen. We are going through a lower chakra purge, clean out, and rejuvenation. So we might feel like our bladders are full, like we might have to pee every 15 minutes, half hour, and then we get in there and it's hardly anything. And we're like, what is up with this? Do not continue to hold it. Don't press your luck there or else you're going to actually create an infection in your physical body. We don't want to do that. We want to honor the frequency in which our bladder needs to be exercised. We also want to make sure that we're bringing in enough fluid in order to clean our organs out. There's a huge clean out, a huge clear out of our abdominal issues here. So whether that be bowel or bladder or sexual organs or what have you, I want you just to think of some of the sensations that might come along with actually giving birth to something, right? There's a fullness, and then there's a void, and then there's spasms, and then there's a healing. There's bubbles, there's twitching, there's popping. This is the new adjustments to our lower chakra system. We also want to be very cautious of our head pressure, the fuzziness, and I'm going to tell you there's probably going to be a headache, even borderline migraine Thursday into Friday. That is when we're being tested. That is when our perspectives are shifting. That is when we are the most aggressive. That is when we have a lot of thoughts and a lot of energy building up in our third eye, in our head, in our mental plane. that could result in an actual physical headache. And in some cases, if you're hypersensitive to the energies and the Ascension symptoms, it could end up in a migraine. So I want you to take very good care of yourself. Again, we're still in Cancer season. This is about listening to your physical body, connecting it to an emotion or a thought, and nurturing and nourishing your physical body back to a place of stability and back to a place of feeling healthy and feeling taken care of.